Welcome back to Two Tickets, Please. I'm your host, Josiah Wampfler. First up on the show today, I'll be tackling another Marvel Cinematic Universe release, Thor Love and Thunder. What do director Taika Waititi and star Chris Hemsworth have in store for us in their second film working together? Then I'll have a brief review of a small but extremely relevant French film, Happening, about a young woman in the 1960s who must find a way to get an abortion while it is still illegal in France. Then to close out the show, I'll be reviewing director Jordan Peele's newest film, Nope. What does the master of the social thriller have planned for audiences in this, his third feature film? But first, let's dig into Thor Love and Thunder.
These hands were once used for battle. Now they're but humble tools for peace. I need to figure out exactly who I am. I want to choose my own path, live in the moment. My superheroing days are over.
Remember what I told you? You ever feel lost? Just look into the eyes of the people that you love. Not me.
What? Just listening.
After a successful turn for the Thor franchise with Thor Ragnarok, director Taika Waititi is back for another go with the Norse god. I loved the camp and comedy Taika brought to that previous film, fully unleashing a humorous Chris Hemsworth in the MCU and introducing us to great new characters like Valkyrie and Cate Blanchett's Hela, who I consider to be an MCU Hall of Fame villain. It breathed new life into the character of Thor and set expectations high for what Taika would do with Thor Love and Thunder. With his second Thor film, Taika once again brings a similar sense of humor that he often mixes with tragedy, and he allows another incredible actor to state their claim for the MCU Villain Hall of Fame. It doesn't all quite come together in as satisfying a way as Ragnarok, but rest assured there still is plenty of fun to be had in Thor Love and Thunder. Since the defeat of Thanos in the last Avengers film, Thor has been traveling the galaxy with the Guardians of the Galaxy. But even though he has gotten back into shape physically, he feels he doesn't know who he truly is. The brief tease of a possible eat, pray, love journey for Thor is unfortunately interrupted when Thor hears about Gorr the God Butcher, played by Christian Bale. We learn the backstory of Gorr at the beginning of the film. Following the tragic death of his daughter, Gorr happens to stumble upon the god of his people, to whom he has sent countless prayers. He quickly learns this deity is an uncaring and oafish god, who does not care for his followers. So with the help of a mystical cursed sword, Gorr kills his god and sets off on a quest to murder all the gods of the universe. He ends up attacking the remnants of the people of Asgard and kidnapping their children as bait. So Thor must assemble a force to save the children and defeat Gorr. That force includes Tessa Thompson's Valkyrie, the witty rockman Korg, played by Taika himself, and a returning character to the Thor franchise, Thor's ex-lover Jane Foster, played by Natalie Portman, who just so happens to wield the legendary hammer Mjolnir now. Bringing back Portman as the newly superpowered Foster works wonderfully. The dynamic between her and Thor both lends humor to the film and grounds it with emotional weight, especially considering the circumstances that lead to Foster becoming a Viking god. While the relationship between the brainy scientist and the Norse god was underdeveloped in previous films, Taika deftly makes up for lost time with a cute and effective flashback that humorously deals with the question, what would it be like to date a superhero? Plus, Hemsworth and Portman do their own heavy lifting, bringing bona fide chemistry to the screen and a real sense that there is an actual spark of romance here. Foster's newly minted powers also rock. She looks the part of a powerful Viking god, having obviously done the Marvel workout for the role, Plus, since Mjolnir was broken into many pieces, it allows Foster to break it apart and use the pieces as projectiles, leading to some pretty visually stunning battle sequences. Though I thought the look of Ragnarok was a bit more consistently great, Taika manages to create many moments of visual brilliance throughout the film. Some of these moments are humorous, some are vibrantly colorful, but the one that stays with me is distinct because its absence of color. When Thor and the gang attempt to rescue the children, they step foot on a world that literally saps the color out of everything. This stunning sequence, rendered in black and white, contains some truly creepy images, especially when gore enters the scene. Christian Bale crafts one of the most intimidating villains the MCU has introduced in a while, and this scene is a perfect example both for the visuals and the intensity of his performance. Now, the problems I have with Thor Love and Thunder are many of the same problems I keep seeing in the MCU films. Clunky, lore-heavy storytelling that is overstuffed and shortchanges character development and emotion, increasingly low-quality CGI elements, and the infamous, what I like to refer to as Marvel dialogue, TM, that attempts humor but comes off as cringe. While I do think Taika manages to avoid some of these pitfalls better than others, Thor Love and Thunder still gets trapped at many points. As I alluded to earlier, the version of this film that seemed to be set up by the trailers was one in which Thor goes on a sort of eat, pray, love journey to find himself, but is sucked back into the world of superheroing. The start of the film even suggests this briefly, but very quickly Thor is embroiled in a plot that includes kidnapped kids, who he is communicating with telepathically, a failed team-up plot with the other gods, a cancer storyline, and a portal to another dimension where a genie-like figure grants wishes. It is a strange dichotomy that these films are both becoming harder to describe to someone not deeply versed in Marvel Comics, while also, at the end of the day, actually feeling quite cookie-cutter. Here again, Marvel falls back into the trope of a villain with a sympathetic backstory that actually has a point, but a point they never really flesh out, and who conveniently will soften their stance when the plot needs them to. And while I actually think Taika's dialogue is funnier than an average Marvel film, and his use of CGI at times better integrated than some other recent MCU projects, there are clearly stylistic mandates coming from on high that are bogging down these films. And as evidenced by a recent Vulture expose about the way Marvel treats its visual effects artists, Marvel is trying to spend less money for more VFX, and they're getting what they paid for. There are some wonderfully funny moments of Thor talking to his axe and reassuring it that it shouldn't be jealous with the return of his former weapon Mjolnir. There's also some quite cringeworthy attempts at humor from Korg throughout that feel like attempts to punch up certain scenes when it just wasn't necessary. Still, I feel like I had fun with Thor Love and Thunder when I left the theater. Taika's style and humor do manage to shine through, even within the constraints of the Marvel behemoth. But I can't help but long for a film as grand as Thor Ragnarok, and was hoping that Taika would have more leeway with this film to get that done. Though I think the film is a fun theater experience, I walked away simply thinking that was a perfectly fine film. I hope the days of walking out of an MCU film saying, "that was great," are not permanently behind us. I'm giving Thor Ragnarok 3.5 out of 5 stars. It is currently out in theaters.
We have just received word of a decision in one of the most consequential cases before the Supreme Court in decades.
Lester, in this historic decision, the Supreme Court has now overturned Roe v. Wade. Overturned Roe v. Wade and the follow-on case called Casey. This is one of the most significant historic decisions in modern times, Lester. And now it means that abortion is no longer the law of the land. It's up to the states, and it's about to become illegal in about half of them, Lester.
Bon, et alors, les études?
On va bientôt avoir son diplôme avec mention.
Ça va, hein, fais pas la modeste. On le sait bien que t'es douée.
vraiment peur de ne pas réussir aux examens.
Si j'ai pas la moyenne, l'année prochaine, je suis sur un tracteur. Bah, j'ai l'esprit ailleurs.
Et on sait où?
Mais qu'est-ce que t'as? T'as pas le comme tout? Tu vas pas nous faire une maladie maintenant?
Vous êtes enceinte, mademoiselle. Je suis désolé.
C'est pas possible.
Director Audrey Diwan's film Happening is an extraordinarily important and relevant film. And I know when I say that, some may already be rolling their eyes, because I get it. There have been numerous times where I've watched a film deemed very relevant to certain news events at the time, or an important look at certain social issues, and walked away feeling like the relevance and the importance were the only things really impressive about the film. Well, not with Happening. Diwan's film centers on a young woman living in 1960s France, Anne, who is preparing for her final exams at university when she discovers she is pregnant. Anne, we see, is an exceptionally bright student that dreams of becoming a writer and is clearly on the path she needs to be on to do so. Having a child at this juncture in her life would destroy all of that. Despite wanting to end the pregnancy, abortion is illegal in France, and it is extraordinarily difficult to find someone willing to perform one. But Anne is determined and goes to great lengths to find a way to end her pregnancy. One of the first reasons I knew Happening was special was because of Anna Maria Bartolome, who plays Anne. Within her very first scene, I knew this was going to be a very special performance, and what a powerful one it turned out to be. Bartolome is often tasked throughout the film with conveying entire monologues of thought, intentionality, and emotion completely wordlessly. She is entirely convincing as a bright student who is navigating uncharted waters as best she can. And when the film starts to throw real body horror at her, the terror and unease she radiates is palpable. It is Diwan's vision for this film that cements Happening as a fascinating cinematic experience and not just a dour but important affair. Throughout the film, and certainly during its final act, Diwan deftly uses body horror imagery to communicate the terrifying situation that Anne finds herself in, and the frightful feeling of one's own body transforming in a way that is not wanted. What's so striking about Diwan's camera, though, is its empathy, even amidst the horror. There is a striking intimacy to her frames that works in tandem with Bartolome's performance to clearly convey what Anne is going through and how she is feeling. Diwan does not shy away from being graphic, but it's never gratuitous. Every shot feels carefully chosen to emphasize the gravity of the situation and the humanity of Diwan's characters. All of this technical brilliance is in service of a story that may be set in the 1960s, but is now the present for many pregnant people in our own country today. While Happening certainly looks the part of a 60s period drama in many ways, Diwan also manages to obscure the time period quite a bit in a way that makes the story feel almost timeless. It's almost as if at any moment a character could reach out for a cell phone that is out of frame. Because of the recent Supreme Court decision striking down Roe v. Wade in America, Happening is no longer just a period piece to look back on and tisk at how difficult it would have been back then. Pregnant people in many states have been completely stripped of their rights to bodily autonomy. Much like in France in the 1960s, there is even legislation that has been passed in some states that would criminalize those who would help people obtain abortions. In the state of Wisconsin, though enforcement is currently being held back, we have reverted to an 1849 law banning abortion. I am sure that Audrey Diwan would have much preferred her film to be just a gorgeous cinematic exploration of a settled issue. But while abortion is a settled issue in France, the United States has returned to an earlier and more brutal time period. Happening is a window into what pregnant people will face in the coming years, and a call for empathy for many like Anne, who will have to go through hell to retain control over their own destinies. I'm giving Happening 4 out of 5 stars. It is currently available to rent on VOD platforms.
What's a bad miracle? They got a word for that?
Yeah, nah.
Director Jordan Peele is back with a new original film, and I couldn't have been more excited to go see it. Coming off of two bona fide horror hits with Get Out and Us, Peele veers in a fairly new direction with Nope. While many horror tropes are certainly still there, Peele's newest is more of a big-budget sci-fi epic with notes of Spielberg and an appetite for spectacle. The film stars Daniel Kaluuya and Keke Palmer as the Haywood siblings, Otis Jr. or OJ and Emerald, respectively. After the tragic death of their father in a freak event at the start of the film, the siblings take over the family ranch in the Agua Dulce desert outside of LA. The Haywood family, for many generations, has trained and supplied horses for the film industry, going all the way back to the previously unnamed black horse jockey in the famous Edward Muybridge film Horse in Motion, which is credited as the first motion picture ever to be assembled. With the weight of that history on their shoulders, OJ tries his best to carry on the family business in his father's absence. But money is tight, and he's forced to periodically sell off some of his horses to the nearby Old West theme park run by former child actor Rick Jupe Park, played by Stephen Yeun. One night, though, OJ and Emerald discover that money isn't their only problem when they see a ship-like figure dart through the sky after one of their horses runs off. The siblings are convinced that they have just seen a real bona fide UFO and embark on a plan to capture an image of the UFO, one so utterly clear and convincing that they'll be able to cash in on the fame they'll accrue from capturing it. Jordan Peele begins Nope in a similar manner to how he began his film Us, with a Bible passage, this one from the book of Nahum. Nahum, much like the books of Jonah and Zephaniah, contains a prophecy of doom for the author's enemies, particularly the capital city of the Assyrian Empire, Nineveh. The passage reads, "I will cast abominable filth upon you, make you vile, and make you a spectacle." It is this idea of the spectacle that is put under Peele's magnifying glass in Nope. First and most obviously through the spectacle of the film he has created. Nope takes a bit to build out the mystery of what the Haywood siblings are trying to document, but once he kicks things into high gear, Peele presents us with easily one of the most thrilling and visually arresting cinematic experiences of the summer. This is a film that you'll want to see on the biggest screen possible, and with the best sound a theater can offer. Peele's indelible images, the immersive soundscape, and a magnificent score from composer Michael Abels are all better experienced on a big screen, preferably IMAX. Nope also contains some spectacular performances from Kaluuya and Palmer in particular. The brother-sister duo have fascinating, juxtaposing energies to their performances, with OJ's quiet but determined stoicism and Emerald's outgoing, if a bit naive, zeal. Though the film has less comedy than Peele's previous films, when the humor comes, it hits. Every time a character says the word nope, it gets funnier and funnier. And when Peele adds to the mix Brandon Pereira's goofy tech store worker, Angel Torres, and Michael Wilcott's cryptic cinematographer, Antlers Holst, a dynamic team is born, creating a third act that delivers fully on this cast's promise. But this is a Jordan Peele film, and as we have come to expect from him as a director, the thematic tapestry of Nope is layered and impressive. Delving too far into the themes of Nope would get us entangled in spoiler territory, so I will try to talk about the broad ideas the film is exploring and hopefully leave you with some things to think about when you see the film. Much like the author of Nahum in the beginning Bible passage, Peele pours a sense of doom over his entire film. Like the coming destruction of the Assyrian Empire, Nope is a warning and a rebuke for our current times. The very first scene in Nope takes place on the set of what looks like a TV show. We see the legs of a woman sticking out from behind a couch as a bloody chimp comes into frame. The chimp taps on the woman's legs a couple times and then licks its bloody hands. Having just wrought the destruction we see before us, it doesn't know what to do with itself. Then, as if it suddenly sees something, it looks up directly into the camera, directly at us. Nope is a film about a lot of things. It's about the erasure of Black Americans from the history of American cinema. It's about the ways in which we tend to make a spectacle out of trauma, especially the trauma of Black and Indigenous folks, something evidenced by the glossy Oscar bait trailer for a film about the Emmett Till lynching that played before Nope. It's about the endless chase for the perfect shot, for the content mines that make up our modern experience on the internet. But a reading I wanted to highlight was Peele's exploration of our relationship to the natural world. The opening scene and the further revelations about that storyline involving the chimp are a huge part of that. Peele presents humanity's relationship to other animals, and by extension, nature itself, as one of disrespect. This is what makes OJ, a man who knows deeply the respect that is owed to the horses he trains, the perfect character to challenge this relationship and try to turn it in a new direction. It is pretty easy to see the many ways that humanity disrespects our fellow animals and our planet. And much like the destruction wrought upon Nineveh in the Old Testament, or the carnage we see in this film, the bill eventually comes due. This is a summer that has seen the hottest week recorded in United Kingdom history. Wildfires blazing in California, major flooding in Kentucky, and rivers drying up in the western United States. Nope's prophecy of doom can already be seen around us. But to whittle Nope down into one easily digestible lesson would cheapen the brilliant complexity of Peele's film. This isn't a film that is just about one idea. It is not only trying to say one thing. Peele is obviously very interested in multiple ideas and even invites his audience to find their own various meanings in his work. It probably won't be a hit with everyone, as it does ask its audience to do some work of their own, both during the movie and in the days after viewing. I myself found a second viewing to be helpfully illuminating, and am still examining all of the thematic threads of the film. But even if you aren't able to parse out every little thing in Nope, I also think Peele has given us an incredibly well-executed and thrilling sci-fi epic that is a perfect reminder of why going out to the movies can be so fun and fulfilling. I'm glad there are still directors out there like Jordan Peele that are taking huge swings and putting original cinema out into the world. For me, Jordan Peele's young directing career has thus far been a thrill to witness, and I've loved all 3 of his films that he's made. I can't wait to see what he gives us next. I'm giving Nope 4.5 out of 5 stars. Go see it on the biggest screen you can. It's out in theaters now. That wraps up this episode of 2 Tickets Please. If you would like more of my thoughts about new release films and other films I watch, you can head over to 2ticketsplease.substack.com. Thanks for watching.